you were appearing and then disappearing, but you're good now. You're here.
Okay. Yes.
How you doing?
Uh, good. So I blurred my background a little bit. Thank you so much for your patience in doing this. You caught me at a busy time.
No, I'm very excited to have you on. Like, I love Godzilla, so this is like blowing my mind right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you coming on.
You're welcome. I'm just rearranging something on my desktop here. Um, and okay.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just gonna say like hello, because I'm gonna start the video and we're just like, hey, how you doing? Because I'm shooting on a green screen, so I'm gonna have you in like a TV or I do a lot of cool stuff with like the background. So I'm gonna use your feed from this video and have you like maybe I'm looking at some sort of like I'm in some sort of tank or something crazy, So it'll
Sure.
it'll be really neat. But so yeah, we'll just be like, hey, how's it going? And then get into it if that's good, if you're ready.
Okay. I'm ready.
How you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. And where are you located?
New Orleans.
Oh, you're in New Orleans. Okay, great. I've never been. I've never been. Been to Louisiana, but never been to New Orleans. I would love to go sometime.
It's a very, very interesting place. I think you would like it. Very artistic place.
Are you from there originally?
I am. I lived in Alabama for a lot of my younger life, but then when I was a grown up, I came and moved to New Orleans because I'm an MC and a DJ and do all that kind of stuff. So this is a good place for those types of things.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah, I need to get to New Orleans. I would love to do a movie there sometime or an autograph show or something like that. Yeah, that would be great. And if I am, we'll have to get together.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be super awesome. So normally we start our interviews by asking, besides movies that you are personally in,
Yeah.
what's your favorite movie or one of them?
Okay. Yes. One of my favorite movies is something out of the ordinary. Uh, it's called The Intouchables. It's a French movie. Um, it was remade with Bryan Cranston, which I unfortunately have not seen. But the French movie that I'm talking about um, is came out about ten years ago, about a man who is uh, in a wheelchair, and he has an assistant kind of from the other side of the tracks who becomes his assistant, and they become best friends. Um,
I've seen commercials and stuff for that. I know of its existence. I have not seen it. I had an aversion to foreign films for a while, and then I broke that recently. So I've been like delving into more foreign films lately, and that one is one that I've seen like floating around.
right, right. Yeah, and my other favorite movie is a movie from like 40 some years ago called All Bad Jazz with Roy Scheider. It was written and directed by Bob Fosse.
Huh. Interesting. I've never heard of that one. Like I love going back. Like I love movies from like super super long time ago. One of my favorite movies is like The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Sure, it's
Like
a great movie. Yeah.
I love that. Like I love the how they look. They're very pretty movies back then.
Yeah, we'll get into when we start talking about Godzilla and stuff. I'll get into a little bit about me and Godzilla versus the smog monster.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you know a lot about Godzilla before you got involved with the movie?
No, I just knew what any casual viewer would know from watching Godzilla movies on Saturday afternoons, on television. Um, when I was growing, I'm a little bit older than you are, and so like there wasn't all this available data about Godzilla like at the at your fingertips with the internet and an explosion of print media. It was you went to the local B. Dalton bookstore and there was like two science fiction magazines like Starlog and Fangoria and maybe like Famous Monsters of Filmland if that bookstore um, had that magazine. So I don't, for someone who's played Godzilla, I I don't know a lot about Godzilla. I know people have come up to me and like, so what's your favorite Godzilla movie? And I'm like, well, I know Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, and I've seen them all at one point in my life, but I'm like Shin Godzilla. I've heard of that. I know that's a thing, I guess. But if you ask me to give you a dictionary definition, I'd have to say I don't really know.
I actually do know that because I did like a deep dive into Godzilla lore, and Shin normally means new or godlike. So it's
Okay.
like new and improved Godzilla, basically,
Okay.
is what it means. Like I
Yeah.
learned that like yesterday because I kept seeing all these action figures that were Shin Godzilla, and I was like, is that a bad version or what? But I guess it's just a new version. So I learned
Okay.
that yesterday.
Well, that is the most succinct explanation I've ever heard. So thank you for letting me know, because I've heard other people at conventions have tried to tell me, and I'm like, what are you saying to me? So thank you.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny that I happened to run across that like yesterday. Why do you think Godzilla has stayed in the public zeitgeist for so long? Because it's really old.
Yeah. Well, it's a great character. Uh, and it's like one of the first. Certainly King Kong came out, what, in like 1933. And
Hmm.
I think the first Godzilla movie showed up in the United States in 1954. But to me, there's something really simple and basic about having people living their lives, and then completely out of left field, here's this giant monster, be it King Kong or Godzilla, that completely interrupts their lives, and then they have to deal with this thing that is so huge and gigantic and awe-inspiring, uh, that I think is just interesting. And and of course, how do the characters react to this character, and how do they uh, find a way to survive, or how do they find a way to win? So, um, and there's just a coolness factor to Godzilla. I mean, I can't deny it. He's just very cool.
It's cool. Yeah, I love it. Like the how the heck do you get picked to play Godzilla? Like how did that happen? That's such a weird thing. How are they like
Right.
you?
Well,
You're perfect.
yes. Do you want the long version or the short version? Because I have both.
Give, give me the long one. I want to know.
Okay. Well, um, a long time ago, when I was a kid, I went to go see Godzilla versus the Smog Monster at a matinee. And so I'm sitting there, I'm a fifth grader, and I'm watching Godzilla walk through the miniature sets. And I said to myself, I'm going to do that one day. And then
Wow.
uh, the years go by, and I find myself in a Godzilla suit on a miniature set, getting ready to break through the side of a building. I was like, oh, yeah, here I am. So to back up a little bit more, I was living in New York City, where I had been doing Little Shop of Horrors. I was in the off-Broadway production in New York back in the 1980s.
Cool.
And I was an understudy in that show doing the plant. And after that show closed, I went around the country a lot, especially in summer theaters like CLOs, Pacific Light Operas around the country, and other theaters, playing the plant for the show in these different theaters. So skip. Uh, in 19 in like October of 1996, I get a phone call out of the blue, completely out of the blue. And it was from a casting director here in Los Angeles. And uh, I returned the phone call, and they said, well, the producers of Independence Day are looking for someone to be the next Godzilla. And I had no idea they were making another Godzilla. I had no clue that this was happening. And I said, okay. And she said, are you 6'3"? I said, yes. And she said, don't lie to me, because if you're not 6'3" and they meet you, um, they're not going to be very happy. I said, I promise I'm 6'3". And and she said, where do you live? I said, New York. She goes, they want somebody local. And I said, I'll tell you what, let me send you my resume and some of my information, and and we'll talk tomorrow. She said, okay. So I went home and I faxed all my stuff over. And I talked to her on Tuesday, the next day, and she said, they really want someone local. And I had this feeling like I can't let this opportunity go. And so I said, I'll tell you what, please tell them that if they want to meet me, I will fly out there on my own dime and I will meet them. And she said, all right, I don't think they're going to go for it, but I'll ask. So about 45 minutes later, the phone rings, and it was one of the assistants for the producers, and they said, you have a meeting at 20th Century Fox on Thursday at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I booked a ticket. I left the next day, and I had some very generous friends who let me stay with them. So I flew out on Wednesday, and I got in my rental car on Thursday, and I drove out to 20th Century Fox and I met them at their bungalow there, and I met a bunch of people. I didn't meet the director wasn't there, but like the executive producers and a lot of the effects people were there. And there were just a lot of questions like feeling me out, like, what do you like? Are you someone maybe we could work with? And then I told them about my experience doing Little Shop of Horrors and other big puppets, and that's maybe similar to playing Godzilla. And then at one point, I said, "Can I say something?" They said yes, and I said, "Well," they were explaining to me about the motion capture they wanted to do, and the digital effects, and the practical effects, and the suit work. And I said, "Whatever this is, I can do it." And they said, "Okay, we're going to give you a videotape. And then we want you to come in. Next time we see you, we'll have you come in and you'll do your best Godzilla for us." So I took the videotape they gave me, and it was just a bunch of reference material of like alligators walking around and snakes and different reptiles movement, just the movement. And at this point, they never showed you a picture of Godzilla or a statue of Godzilla, nothing. You could ask questions, but they wouldn't show you a picture of anything. So they called me about a week later, and I went to another meeting in Santa Monica. And this is where I met all the people I met before, but also the creature designer, Patrick, was there, Patrick Totopoulos, and the director, Roland, was there, Roland Emmerich. And so I just started doing my Godzilla stuff, and it was a lot of, the audition was a lot of kind of being challenged to jump through hoops. Like you would show them something, and then Roland would say, okay, do what you just did, but do it as low, with your chest as low to the ground as possible, and keep your back as flat as possible. Okay, back up, do that again, but keep your chest as high as possible, but still bend your legs more than you think you should. So it was just challenge after challenge after challenge. And that went on for about 20 minutes or so, maybe. And they said, okay, thank you. And so I left, and I was driving home, driving back to my friend's place. And I said, well, I think I did. If I don't get called back, I've done everything I could to get this job. I'm leaving there like, okay, I did everything I could. Then a few days later, I got a call, and they said, we want to see you again, and this time we're going to show you what Godzilla looks like. So it was me and two other guys, and Patrick, the creature designer, and they had a maquette, a model of what the new Godzilla looked like, and it was totally different than what I thought it was going to be, because the Godzilla had very long arms. And I remember asking Patrick, so can Godzilla like completely rotate his arms like 360 degrees like a human? He goes, yes, absolutely. So asked a bunch of questions. We weren't allowed to take pictures or anything, but I remember drawing. I had a notebook and I kind of drew a quick sketch of what it looked like. And then I just went back to my friend's apartment, my friend's house, and I just, used my imagination. Like, okay, if this thing is 220 feet tall, if it's 300 feet tall, how does it move? How fast is it? How quickly can it turn around? It's got a very long tail. Like how would that affect the way how the chest goes up and down if it has to get its tail up over a building or something? So I'm thinking about all this stuff. And then about a week later, they called myself and the other two guys in, and that was like the last big audition. And so I think I was the second guy to go in, and we walked into the studio where we actually ended up doing a lot of the motion capture for the movie. And there was a lot of people in there. A lot of all the producers were there, a bunch of assistants. And I remember I walked in, I put my stuff down, and they said, "Okay, Kurt, whenever you're ready." And so I started, and I took like a couple of steps, and I heard someone laughing, like off in in the studio. And I said, "Well, either I'm really terrible or I'm nailing this. So I'm going to pretend I'm nailing this. I'm just going to keep going." So, and that was even more of, like I said before, jumping through hoops, where Kurt, do what you did, but do it this way differently. Do that faster. Do it as slow as you can, but still maintain that reptile-like movement with your back. And that was just. And the other thing I thought in my head was I didn't want to ever stop moving. I didn't want to stop and take a break and ask questions. I was just, whenever they would say something to me, I would just keep on moving and then immediately do what they told me to do. I just constant movement. And I'm not sure exactly how long I was in there, but it was a while. And they said, "Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Kurt." And I walked out of there, picked up my bag, walked out, got to the car, and I was very tired. Like when you're working out, you just don't stop for 20 minutes or half an hour. I was exhausted. And then it took like 6 weeks, month and a half for them to call and say, "Okay, yeah, we would like to work with you on the movie." So I was, did my best to put it out of my mind after I left Los Angeles and flew back to New York. Like, what is taking so long? Because they had told us, like, as soon as the decision is made who we're going to use, we want to start working right away. So I was wondering what was taking so long, but eventually they got back to me, and then a couple months later, they called me in January, and then like in March, I moved to Los Angeles to actually work on the movie full time.
Wow.
So that's the long story.
What a crazy thing to have to put out of your mind. Yeah. Like, I might be Godzilla, but nah, don't worry about it. That's crazy. See, and I'm also an actor, and I feel like being something so separated from just humanity in general and being that vulnerable to be a monster and being just not even that, like an animal, like that seems tough to wrap your head around mentally.
Okay.
That seems like an intense, crazy thing. So how did you get into that space in your head? Like, how did you, what was your process for becoming Godzilla?
Well, the suit helped a lot. All of those people, and there was a whole army of people that worked on that thing, helped so much to make the suit look incredible. Because I know, most people have only seen it in pictures or on film, but I saw that thing being created every day in the shop, like all the sculptors working on it, the baby Godzilla is being sculpted, and all the seamstresses that worked to make all the stuff that we wore underneath, and the mold makers. So I got to see every step of the process and got to see it come together. And it was very impressive to see that creature, just even though it was still in the shop, lifeless. But that helped a lot with my imagination about what it could do. And of course, also the storyboards that we were given. that we could look at would give, a great indication about what this was supposed to be. So, my job was to, I said to one of the producers one time, "What are you looking for?" And he said, "Kurt, we're looking for someone to tell us what Godzilla is like." So, um, so I took that and I ran with that. But the first time, like I got in one of the like the Godzilla costume. Sometimes costumes dictate what you can do and what you can't do. But a lot of times when you have limitations, that actually expands what you can do. I'm not saying the suit was limiting, but there was Godzilla was built a certain way, and I had to find a way to work within the boundaries that the suit gave me. So my mindset was always, what would Godzilla do? What's going to look great? And I've often found there's a very simple rule that works when working like in motion capture or in film, because sometimes a director might tell you to do something, and you're not sure. They may not be they're not articulating it in a way that's clear,
Right.
And it can get frustrating for the director or whoever's directing you, because they're having trouble articulating something that's like movement based. Like, I don't have a voice I can use. I can't say a line differently. I can't change a line reading. You can't change the dialogue. It's just my body movement. So, and it's frustrating for me when they can't articulate what they want. So, a good rule that I have found is, just make it look cool. If you can make it look cool, that's more than half the battle. Because if you're clear about what you're doing, and then that translates into action. I know that another rule that I found, especially, almost any creature I've worn, like from Little Shop of Horrors to some of the other movies I've done, I've generally found that what is ever physically most painful for me to do, whatever is the most physically painful position to be in, that's when I hear the director go, "Perfect, yes, that's it."
Of
Because,
course.
yeah, you're less. It's like this thing you have to bear through, because the less you look like a human, the more it looks like a creature somehow. So, the more you arch your back, and the more your back is killing you, that's it. Yes, that's it, that's it. Um, so, so yeah, so I try to think like, what would Godzilla, what, based on where I'm at and the buildings I'm around, what would look the best? What would Godzilla do? And sometimes I even get into like, what lens is on the camera? How many millimeters is the lens? Like, what's going to be seen? Are you going to see my knees in this shot? Do I have to worry about what my knees are doing, or do I just focus on this stuff right here? And that's very helpful. Is it a 50 millimeter lens? Are we, going to be really tight, or is it you're going to see my whole body? Because a lot of times I have no idea what the framing is, and just knowing where I'm framed helps a lot with my performance.
So when you were what caused you to be in the suit versus doing motion capture? Like, if you're just interacting with something or picking it up, or
simply when we were shooting miniatures on the miniature unit, we were 1/24 scale. So there was the 1/24 scale cars and the streets and the buildings and everything. And Godzilla was 1/24 scale too. A lot of times, if Godzilla was actually breaking through something tangible, like a street, side of a building, Madison Square Garden, the side of the tunnel, they preferred to have me do that with the miniatures. So Now there were some things like some of the running sequences was better for CG, and of course a lot of this was hidden with rain and fog and smoke and being at night. But for being in the suit, if it was something tangible that they wanted broken, they would put me in the suit to do that. Motion capture, we did all kinds of stuff for the movie. Now, what percentage of that made it into the film? I think it was rather low. But we worked, there's a scene in the movie where I think it's gumballs that get thrown on the floor and some of the baby Godzillas trip and fall on the gumballs. So we had to, they wanted us to come up with baby Godzilla's running via motion capture and then slipping and falling down. And so what we came up with was we took newsprint, back when newspapers were still kind of a thing. We took, pardon me one second. We took newsprint, we put it on the floor, and then we would run as baby Godzilla in the motion capture field, and then purposely let the newspaper slip out from, make us slip and fall. And so we did all kinds of slipping and falling on newsprint all for a long time. They also had a special I'm blanking on the name of it. Treadmill, excuse me. They had a special, very big treadmill built. I think Nordic Track built it for us, so that we could be in the middle of the motion capture area and then just run as Godzilla. But a lot of time, like that was for like when Godzilla has to move fast. The suit can't move that fast. In the suit, I can't move that fast. So we'll try to do that with the motion capture. And also what was great about motion capture was we would be able to see in live real time. Like they would put up like wireframe buildings or actual footage from the movie, and they would have us run down like 6th Avenue in New York City. And I know, and then we like maybe have to like walk around the building. And I know we did a take and I actually stepped on a building accidentally during the take. And one of the animators was there, and I said, "I'm sorry, I'll have to do it again." He goes, "Oh, Kurt, don't worry, I can move your foot. That's no problem." He says, I can work with that. I said, "Really? You can just move the foot?" He goes, "Yeah, that's totally no problem." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He goes, "Yeah, I can work with that." Like, learn something new every day. Yeah.
Was that hard for you when you're doing motion capture? Had you done stuff like that before?
I'd never done motion capture before. That was my first experience with it. I'm not going to say I found it easy, but it was a lot of fun because what I liked about it was you could work on so many different takes so quickly. The motion capture suit you're wearing is like wearing like a unitard, and you run 10 steps and they say cut, and then you back up and you just do it again. And so it's what I found about it was fun was how fast it was and all the different things you could do so quickly. And I got I learned pretty fast about how to use my body to walk down the street in between the buildings like Godzilla did. We had a lot of practice time too, because it was not a brand new technology, but kind of at the time, I believe that they were kind of cutting edge, one of the cutting edge studios who was doing it. Yeah.
I was going to say that because like that magnitude of like with all the computer effects and motion capture and all that, that was very early for all that type of stuff. So I would imagine that had to have a big lasting effect on the movie industry in general, because a lot of that stuff was stuff that we're going to use for forever, I guess.
Right. I know, like when I started doing Little Shop of Horrors, most of the time when I was doing that show and I'm on stage, I'm blind. I can't see the actors on stage. I can hear them. I can feel the stage floor underneath me when they walk around. I mean, I know where they're supposed to be on stage. I know they're blocking, but really the only time I see them is when I open up the mouth of the puppet, you know. So you have to use your imagination and like, all right, I know they're over here, but also I may know that they're stage left, but I can't go too, I can't go too far, and so the audience can see, oh, he doesn't know where they are. He's not even looking at them. So got very good at like taking quick mental pictures of like where I'm supposed to be, and that did translate to doing the motion capture about where I'm supposed to be, and this movement is too big, and this movement is too small, and so that all those experiences kind of came together.
Yeah, I would imagine that's just like the motion capture stuff is like just doing like a big audition all the time because you're not really anywhere. Like you're in a room or whatever, but you're not actually in, where you look like you are in the movie.
Right.
Yes. So I feel like that takes a lot of imagination. And it's so funny that you were Audrey too. Me and my girlfriend just watched Little Shop of Horrors for the first time like a month ago, and we absolutely loved it. Was that before the movie came out or after the movie had come out?
Yeah, and let me be clear, like I was never in the movie, but that movie came out in 1986, like in the winter, like around December of 1986, and I was in the show. I started doing the show in September of '86, so just a few months before the movie came out is when I started doing the show in New York. And like I said, I was an understudy for a couple of months, and then the regular understudy came back, and then every once in a while they'd call me back to come in for a week or so to understudy. But then, like a year later, the show closed. The little shop closed at the Orpheum in New York, and then like back in the mid 2000s, they brought the show back on Broadway this time, and I think they brought it back pre-pandemic as an off-Broadway show, but then I think the pandemic maybe stopped the production, or I don't know. I don't know if it's playing again in New York or not. I don't know.
I would love to see that. But so after doing all this with Godzilla, what stood out to you the most memory wise? Like what were some of the craziest or most interesting thing that you remember about the experience?
I remember one day I learned that sometimes shooting scenes in movies can take a very long time. There's a scene in the movie where the camera is walking down a hallway, and the camera comes to two doors that open up, and you see two baby Godzillas fighting over a fish. They have a fish. The front half of the fish is in one baby Godzilla mouth, and the back of the fish is in another baby Godzilla's mouth. And it was my friend Preston was playing the other baby Godzilla. And it makes me sad because my friend Preston passed away last year. Yeah, but I actually went to college with him. And that's just one of those weird coincidences that a guy I went to school with was also playing one of these baby Godzillas. But crazy. So we're doing this take where we're fighting over this fish. I mean, that's the whole take. Camera moves down the hallway, doors open, you see two baby Godzillas fighting over a fish. Cut. That's it. I think we were in those costumes about 5.5 hours doing this one take. And we heard a lot, and we were not working with first unit, we were working second unit. And we heard a lot of, we're just going to do one more and then that'll be it. I think we heard that, I don't know how many times. And it was like, no, we're going to do another one. We're going to do another one. And so that was when I learned, like, do your best to like not think, when they tell you this is the last take, don't believe them. Don't believe them. Because like when you mentally know, like when you mentally think like, this is it, this is my last take. And then, no, they actually want to do like 12 more. It's hard to get your mind back into the zone of like, okay, I got to, buckle down and do this. So that I remember. I also remember we were shooting we were shooting at Sony in Culver City in the Madison Square Garden set. And I've been to Madison Square Garden, and I was in the Baby Godzilla costume. We were shooting stuff in the elevator with Baby Godzillas and all around the Madison Square Garden set. And I remember it's like 3 a.m. We're done for the day, and I'm walking out of there, and I'm walking through the Madison Square Garden set, and for a second I thought I was back in New York. I thought I was back in New York City. I was like, then I walk around the corner. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm in Culver City. I'm not in Madison Square Garden. But that was something that movie magic, made me believe I was somewhere where I really wasn't. But I made a lot of great friendships on that movie. I met a lot of great people. I worked with a lot of great people. I have so much respect for the people behind the scenes who like made the Godzilla costumes, the Baby Godzilla costumes, and all the dressers I had, because I had like 6, 7 dressers, maybe 8 dressers to help me get dressed as Godzilla, because it wasn't just getting the costume on, it was all the electronics, the batteries, the getting makeup touch-ups, so that the suit looked good for camera. Those people were great, and they treated me very, very well.
Cool. So I remember this movie coming out when I want to say like 11, something like that. And it was everywhere, like absolutely everywhere. It was like on billboards and on like cups for Taco Bell and like all in the toy store. Just that big eye was everywhere, or the big foot.
Yeah.
And what did that feel like for you to be like, that's me, and that's me?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of it wasn't me. It was probably an animated foot or the eye, whatever. But I understand what you're saying. Like, yeah, that was kind of cool. Like, well, I know a friend of mine, when they were shooting in New York, he was telling me that the shooting, they were blocking off streets, and he couldn't get to where he needed to go. And he says, "Your movie's really making me angry. I can't get to my appointment." But yeah, that was really. All I can say, yes, that was really cool. Driving down the street and seeing a bus with a giant Godzilla poster on it, or driving down Sunset Boulevard. Oh, there's a Godzilla poster, or wherever I would see one. Or you see the commercials on TV and stuff, and you're hoping, like, are they going to show something I worked on, or like one of my takes or whatever. But yeah, it's neat. It's very neat to see that.
I bet I would have just taken ownership of the whole thing. I've been like, I'm Godzilla. These are all me. I would have like all the little cups and all the little, like, look at this. This is my little action figure. Did you get any of the stuff when it came out?
No, I don't. I don't. I have for a while from set. I kept one of the fishes. We had tons and tons of fake fish on set. I kept one of those for a while. But no, I never had any toys. I had a little cousin who was, I don't know, 5 or 6 at the time, and he had a Godzilla toy, and I was talking to him, and I was saying, well, this is where I would be inside. This is where my foot would be, and but no, I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have any Taco Bell stuff. I have a couple of Godzilla T-shirts. But other than that, no, I missed the boat on that. I don't know what I was thinking, or like, I don't know.
That's funny. Yeah, if it were me, I would have like I wouldn't be able to fit in my house anymore. I would have inflatables, and that's fun. That's really cool. It's so cool that you got to be Godzilla. That's awesome. I remember at my age, when it came out, it was just mind-boggling. Also, because you didn't see that much stuff like that, because it was the beginning of CGI use and stuff like that. So that was just amazing. I remember just being like, wow. Like,
Right.
so anybody that was like a young, super young kid back then, that just like, you blew a lot of people's minds.
Right. Well,
Just so
if
you know.
if I would have been your age, I would have, been dying to see this movie. Like a giant monster is, running through a city. Like, yeah, sign me up. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool. Well, what have you been working on lately? What you been up to?
I just got back a couple weeks ago from North Carolina where I was working on a movie. And I I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't really talk about it.
Fair enough.
And I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, but I was in North Carolina doing a movie. I'm guessing the movie's going to come out next year sometime. It seems like a summer movie. Uh,
Cool.
and I also have a movie that I hope gets some exposure, more exposure than it's gotten. It's called Crabs. It's a movie that I shot back in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. I saw the commercial for it. I was reading up on you, and I saw that. I was like, "This looks really fun. This looks like something I would really like." So I got to check that out.
Yes. Yeah, it's I we shot it a few years ago, and um, it's it's it seems like a lot of fun, and I hope that it gets some exposure because I think it has the right sense of humor, and I'd love to see the public get a chance to experience it because I think it's very smart and very funny. So I'm hoping like maybe this year or beginning of next year that movie will be out for everybody to see. And also, have a couple of short films I want to work on for myself, and but and hopefully some more projects that are coming up that I also can't talk about because you signed non-disclosure agreements. So
Fair enough. Is there any website or any social media or anything that you would like the people that are watching to know about? Somewhere they can watch the movies or something?
well, I don't really, and I need to be much better at that. Maybe we can talk later and you can help me with some of that. But I have a website, kurtcarley.com, which is mostly for producers who might want to hire me who don't really know what I do, so that they can go to my website and say, "Oh, these are pictures of Kurt in the creature suits, and this is what he does for a living." And okay, we can bring him in, interview him. Um, uh, but I do need to. But I'm sorry, I don't have a Godzilla Facebook page or an Instagram or a TikTok or a Twitter. But I need to get on that. But kurtcarley.com or just that's really the only thing I've got. So
Okay.
that's a very long answer for I don't really have any Godzilla social media.
Yeah. No, you're good. Well, it is very nice to speak to you. I really appreciate you coming on, and it's been very, very interesting. So thank you very much.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. I had a great time, and I'm glad that we could finally get this together.
Me too. I will let you know when I get everything set up. It may take a little while because I'm like, I shoot them and then I still have projects that I'm working on before this. So I interviewed Freddy Krueger, super Freddy Krueger, but he also played the Thing in the Marvel movies. And so I got one more left, and then you're next up after that. So I'll let you know as soon as I start getting going on it.
Okay,
But thank
great.
you.
Hey, no,
Thank you,
thank you.
buddy.
Thank you. And thank you for your patience. And I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much. And thanks for giving me some of the questions. So we had a better conversation.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you, buddy. I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.